I know what you guys are thinking. Volkanovski is absolutely screwed in his rematch against Ilia Topuria. And I understand why. It makes complete sense. I personally think he's screwed as well. But what I don't want to do is doubt one of the top 10 greatest fighters of all time. This man right here, Alexander Volkanovski. The betting odds right now for Topuria versus Volkanovski 2 are, as you would imagine, pretty heavy going the way of Topuria. I'll adjust this if you really want to read it. It has him as a minus 300 favorite. And honestly, if the fight does get announced and as the fight grows closer, I wouldn't be surprised if this swelled up to maybe even minus 400. And if you are unassociated with it, you know Volk as a legend. Okay, he got caught against Topuria. Why is he such, what's going against him here? Why is he such a big underdog? Let's get into why Volk is potentially fucked. Number one, Volk is coming off of 2 knockout losses. Islam Makhachev and, of course, Ilia Topuria. That's never good, especially as you're aging, which is the next point. 36 years old at 145. I made sure to mention the fact that this is at 145. That's a key component. If you're 36 at heavyweight, you're like a spring chicken. But if you're 36 in the 145-pound division, you're old man Volk, as you can see there. Another reason why Volk might be fucked is Ilia just knocked out Max Holloway. I think everyone understands the magnitude of that win and how it wasn't, at least the not delusional people understand that Max was not super shot out of his prime, not still a great version of himself, looked great in the fight. Ilia still knocked out Max Holloway. And the confidence he's going to gain from that is crazy. And the confidence, next point, confidence in this matchup, the Volk matchup, is also going to be crazy high because he just knocked him out in February. And the final point, if I can sort this out, oh my gosh, Ilia is going to KO him and I will cry. That's another reason why Volk is fucked. Another thing, this is a stat, champions in immediate rematches after losing the belt in the modern era are 4-9. The exceptions are Randy Couture, who lost his belt via getting eye poked and they had to stop it. It was with the glove and it scratched his eye, so they had to stop it, and it was a TKO win for Vitor Belfort, and that's how Vitor became champion. A little fluky. The other one was Amanda Nunes, Juliana Pena. Talk about fluky. Then Davison Figueiredo in a close fight against Brandon Moreno. That's legit. And then Adesanya against Pereira, probably the most legitimate of the champions in immediate rematches after losing the belt category. It's all looking really bad for Ilia Topuria. Or what? It's all looking really bad for Alexander Volkanovski. There's no doubt about that. He is up against it completely in every way almost. But instead of just residing to the fact that, oh, Volk, yeah, he'll fight Topuria in the rematch, he'll get KO'd, and then we'll go on, and Topuria can go against Diego Lopez or whoever else emerges in the featherweight division. Instead of that sad reality, I, Connell's Combat, want to create a game plan for Volkanovski to achieve the impossible and to get his belt back. To do this, we must first understand where Volkanovski went wrong in the first fight. So, let's talk about this. In the first fight, one of Volkanovski's biggest mistakes, in my opinion, was how often he was pulling back out of range with his chin straight up in the air. Now, this is a very casual take because Dean Thomas said this himself on the broadcast and the commentators then agreed with it. I get it. But he was doing this very often, this position, and he never really got caught super, super clean for it. But this position is not something that I want to see Volkanovski in the second fight at all. I think a lot of it comes from throwing these inside kicks, or lead leg kicks, we'll say, out of orthodox. We know the weaknesses or the openings that Topuria sometimes has to that open side body kick. He's very bladed, as you see here, and he presents a lot of that body and head, and we've seen him hurt on that side to the head. So Volkanovski going into this fight came into, like, with a game plan. Okay, I'm going to kick a lot with my lead leg and occupy his right hand, things like that. All good things. But, especially going into the second fight, I feel like Topuria will be even more confident stepping right through those kicks. Because these kicks, like, to the inside of the leg, sure, that lands, but it's not really damaging or threatening. And the ones he throws to the body, Volkanovski does, are landing with the foot, and they're landing on the arms of Topuria. Sure, it keeps his guard active, which is like his right hand active, like we were talking about with the Holloway game plan. This is good. But they're not damaging. So Topuria can block and just continue pushing forward. And this gets Volkanovski also more backed up against the cage, where we know this is the death zone for any Topuria opponent. You don't want to be backed up against the cage. Death zone. He does a good job circling out. But a lot of the times why he had to back out with his chin high was because he was trying to counter Topuria's entries with these inside low kicks, with inside body kicks. He was constantly like looking to counter. And I don't know. I just don't think this is the most effective way to go about striking on the feet with Ilia Topuria, because if Ilia Topuria is more confident stepping through range, maybe he goes quick 1, 2, like the 2 is already following the 1, and he's just blasting through range, and your little cheeky inside low kick isn't gonna dissuade him from darting right through and hitting you while you're on one leg with your chin up after getting KO'd twice in a row. I don't know. That's what I think. So I would say abandon those counter lead leg kicks. I don't really like it, personally. And even here, like, he tries to counter the right hand with a left kick to the body, and like, look how out of stance he is, and he's got to stumble back. This lands, I guess, but it doesn't land effectively. He's not in a position to throw a powerful kick here. And he's just getting backed up against the fence, and Topuria's beginning to cut him off. It's just dangerous. Don't do it. I say scrap it. So that was the main mistake I wanted to highlight from Volk, countering Topuria's entries with these lead leg kicks that weren't really damaging or threatening Topuria, and just putting Volk on one leg in punching range and forcing him to have to back out with his chin up. So maybe 2 mistakes: backing up with your chin up and countering with the lead leg kicks. I want those to stop, personally, as Connell's combat game planner. Totally much more viable than Eugene Behrman, obviously. But let's look at what Volk can focus on. Some things that he did well. I think Volk was so focused on that lead leg countering game, either to the head, to the body, or to the inside of the leg, that he kind of forgot. He didn't completely forget, because he's about to throw one right here, but he abandoned the calf kicking game. And Topuria's stance is so bladed. I want Volk to be way more active with this calf kick. And of course he has to set it up, because he's also putting himself on one foot in punching range against Topuria. But at some point you got to. Like, you got to kick Topuria, because Topuria is so boxing heavy. I'd like to see Volkanovski set up his calf kicks and throw more just traditional calf kicks, because Topuria's stance is very bladed and he rarely turns the knee. His defense is getting out of range, and if he doesn't get out of range, he's probably going to eat it. So those calf kicks can add up for Volkanovski, and I think they're just a little bit more damaging and worth it getting on one leg in punching range than an inside low kick or an inside body, like a lead leg body kick is. That personally, that's what I think. Here it is again. This is Topuria's defense to get out of the range of the calf kick, but the calf kick still lands from Volkanovski right at the end of the toe, and look how much it sends back. Another thing, we were talking about this with the Holloway game plan. If you can dissuade and stop the pressure even momentarily from Topuria by him having to scoot out of range of this calf kick, because he's not going to turn the knee to check it, and he's not going to do the lift thing that Jose Aldo does. He's not going to do that. He's going to back out of range. That's his defense. So if you can get him backing out of range, and obviously if you can hit him like this on like the end of the toe where it lifts him way out of stance and backs him up a little bit, that stops the pressure, and that gives you a little bit more time out in the center where the fight is much more even than against the cage when Topuria's ripping you with deadly melatonin fucking hands, as I said in my article. Another thing I want Volk to focus on is to grapple more, simply. On the feet, it's too dangerous, man. Volk isn't hitting as hard as Topuria, nowhere near. Topuria just knocked him out. Topuria is going to be so confident on the feet against Volkanovski. I need to see Volkanovski mixing the martial arts, going into the clinch as he does here. Instead of pulling out of range when Topuria attacks, maybe duck under, and of course uppercuts are threatening, but Topuria doesn't usually lead with an uppercut. He'd have to really make that read on Volkanovski that he is ducking under for him to lead in the open with an uppercut. I don't know if I've seen him do that before, but he jumps in with a left hook, and he's very square. This is kind of like the left hook that he threw against Holloway in the finishing sequence. Not the one that landed, the one right before, and then he throws the right hand, and then he pivots out and throws the left hook. It was that one right before where he shows his rear shoulder and leaps into this left hook. He becomes very square, and his head is on a straight line. Duck underneath that, as Volk does here. Threaten a takedown for a second, okay, if you don't want to, he's in a good spot for a takedown here, but he abandons it. He feels for some reason he has to abandon it. Okay, you get to the clinch, you land a couple of knees, knee to the body, and Topuria kind of just wants to punch the body in the clinch. He doesn't have many, digging underhooks, or he's not super... we haven't seen him in the clinch too effective other than just punching the body. So, getting him in the clinch, knee to the body, and then a knee to the head as he exits just misses because he pulls from it. But mixing the martial arts, getting it into the clinch, going to the body with knees, knee in the head, obviously. And even ducking under into takedown attempts. Like I say, if you can finish a takedown here, great. Spend a minute on top, or spend the rest of the round on top and bank around, take no damage, and spend way less time on the feet with Topuria. This is ideal world. And we've seen Topuria struggle in the not struggle, but we've seen Topuria in the grappling be taken down and held down. Bryce Mitchell, a really good grappler. And this is something that Topuria does a lot. He gets into his head movement. So he's slipping inside. He's slipping outside. He's trying to read your jab. If you're pumping out a non-committal jab, as Bryce Mitchell kind of is showing here, just non-committal, oh, here's my jab. Topuria's thinking boxing. He's trying to slip, counter, and rip bombs over the top. So what can you do? You can mix it up. He's thinking boxing combinations. He's trying to slip. Puts him out of position for a shot. And that wasn't even the most ideal time to shoot. I'd say probably here when he's leaning back and his hips are right there for the taking. He's ducking down and Bryce Mitchell shoots on him. Not a great shot, but he gets to one leg, single leg, and kind of just falls on top of Topuria. And he wins the scramble here, getting that left arm across and pulling Topuria down and getting his hands locked. And he spends a whole minute on top here. We know Volk has a heavy top game.
top game? Yeah, that's not sus. My voice is kind of like raspy. We know Volk has a heavy top game and solid ground and pound. He came into the UFC just pounding people out against the cage paws. And we've seen him take down some of the best guys in the world when he took down Volkanovski in their second fight. Look here. Nice inside low kick combo. I love when Volk ends his combinations with inside low kicks, ends his punching combinations with inside low kicks. That feels safer to me than just like kind of like waiting, inside low kick, and then having to back out with your chin up in the air. But here, he jabs, which draws out a counter from Max, but Volk ducks into the clinch, gets his hands locked, and gets to this inside trip. Really nice. We know Topuria likes to counter the jab a lot. He was slipping inside overhand right against Max Holloway a ton. He was countering Volk's jab in their first fight. You know Volk, if you know Topuria wants to counter the jab, throw the jab knowing he wants to counter it, and then duck under and mix the martial arts. Get into the clinch, knee the body, look for your takedowns. That could be somewhere where Volk could just avoid boxing on the feet, because that's not going to go well for him. If he can successfully implement this, start banking rounds against Topuria and getting some damage off in the ground and pound, could be really good. I've been yapping on for quite a while now. A couple other things. I touched on most of what I wanted to talk about. But I guess one last thing. Hold him against the fence. Stall. This is another suggestion from Connell's Combat, the genius game planner. Stall. If you get the clinch and you can't take him down, put him against the fence. Hold him there. Knee the thigh. Pull him a rob. When you do that, you're ticking off precious time where Topuria could be on the feet, slipping your jab and ripping bombs over the top, or slowly backing you up. You're taking away that 25 minutes that Topuria has to find the kill shot on you. You're taking that away. And I don't think Topuria is going to get finished by Volkanovski. It would take some hellacious ground and pound from Volk for me to see that happening. I'm pretty sure Volk is going to have to win a decision. So every minute, every second that Volk cannot be in the dangerous boxing range is better for him. Whether that's through getting in the clinch, getting him on the ground, taking him down, holding him down for a little bit. Anything you can do to avoid that boxing range is key. So, with all that being said, if you made it to the end of the video, at the end of this 2 a.m. yapping session, because that's what time it is for me, thank you. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and peace.